So let's talk about the season finale of And Just Like That. As a dating coach for women, I often like to discuss and analyze pop culture from the perspective of the dating advice that I give and to use some of the characters we know as examples to teach you tips that you can use in your own dating life. So let's talk about Carrie. Carrie, once again, is a hot mess in the dating department. So, in getting back together with Aiden, that in itself is perfectly fine, except here's where things go off the rails. She makes assumptions. And you know what we learned back in grade school or whenever it is about assumptions. Assumptions make an ASS out of you and an ASS out of me. And she has assumptions galore going on here. So specifically, she goes and buys that beautiful, gorgeous new place, which God only knows what the mortgage is on that place. And she says, it's for us and, for your kids to be able to come and spend time here. And she does that without him ever proposing or otherwise really taking action towards a future together. And she's just assuming that we're going to be together, and she's making this huge big commitment towards that. So she's essentially taking the masculine role of trying to push it forward, trying to make it happen. And what I teach is that the more the woman takes on that role of the pusher and the making it happen person, the more the man pulls away and backs off. And in this case, even though it's a scripted series, it did play out as I would predict it would in real life, which is that if the woman moves forward and tries to push the relationship forward, the man suddenly is less interested and backs off. So after she invests in this phenomenal, gorgeous new home and sells the old place and all this stuff for this relationship, because she certainly doesn't need that giant place all just for herself, all of a sudden he's like, oh, see you in 5 years. That is not what we want. And furthermore, the way they've left it hanging of like, give me 5 years. Is she going to wait for him for 5 years? No, 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 no. No, she should not, because you never know what can happen in 5 years. She should absolutely not put herself on the shelf. He could meet somebody else that he hadn't expected. She could be missing out on other opportunities. No, 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 no. Never wait for a man, where there's no commitment on his part. He hasn't proposed. There's nothing. Forget it. No. I think that if he was truly in love, a man in love will move mountains to be with you. So in this example, if the kids were really an issue, he would find a way to work it out if he really wanted to be with her. I just think he's not really, really in love with her in this example if he's using the kids as an excuse to I can't be with you for 5 years. Okay, so let's move on to Miranda and this conversation about her throwing exes away. I don't think that Miranda was wrong to do that. And this is controversial, but what I believe is that it's best to move on with your life from an ex and not stay deeply involved in their life. So if you have kids together, then absolutely be amicable, absolutely, be able to co-parent. But what I'm talking about is you don't need to keep up on the details of each other's lives. She comes out to support Steve in his new restaurant, and I have not seen that end well in real life. So here's what that looks like in real life from what I have seen. Oftentimes you'll see a couple, okay, they've divorced, they've split, maybe they have kids together, but all of a sudden the communication isn't just about the kids. It's like one is using the other as an emotional support crutch, going to them with all their problems, and then it never really seems like a breakup because they're still using that person for the emotional support they received while they were in the relationship. And then that person is in for a rude awakening when all of a sudden their ex moves on, all of a sudden that other person is engaged. All of a sudden that other person is in a serious relationship where the new partner is saying like, hey, why are you always supporting your ex through every crisis? And that can be very detrimental, because I see so many women who stay friends with the ex and then all of a sudden they're devastated when he finally moves on because they stayed too much up in the details of his life. And we don't want that. So I think amicable and being on, good terms is one thing, but being involved and supporting the ex emotionally in all their new endeavors is something that I have seen prevent people from moving forward. Because if you're still getting all the support from the old person, sometimes the woman doesn't move on or get hungry enough, if you will, to go and meet somebody else if the ex is still meeting her needs, or or a man can sometimes happily enjoy the support you're giving to him while he dates and while he's, moving on with somebody else that maybe you don't know about. So I think it is a waste of time and energy for a woman to proactively try to be involved in the life of an ex. And then finally, let's talk about Seema. And she said, I love you first. Was she right or was she wrong? I think that was 100% a mistake. I think you never want to be the first to say, I love you. You never really want to be the first in anything with a man. Let him go first. Let him be the one to suggest the next date. Let him be the one to suggest exclusivity. Let him be the one to bring up a future. Let him be the one to, make the first move, like the first kiss or whatever it is. Always let him be first, because the minute you say, I love you, he knows he has you. And now you're a fish in a barrel, an expression I use often. And men get bored if they know that they have you and they don't have to work to win your heart. So you're kind of doing a disservice to both yourself and him and the budding relationship if you say too much too soon. Let him be the one to say that first, and then you can say it back. But you never want to be the one to initiate, because it does scare men away, and it also is more likely to result in you being taken for granted. So learn from Seema's mistake, and we don't want to do that. So our 3 takeaways from this chat about And Just Like That are that 1, we're not going to make assumptions about a future when a man hasn't proposed to us. 2, we're going to not stay emotionally involved with exes. And 3, we're not going to be the first to say, I love you. Let the man lead with the I love yous. I'm Coach Cori at Love Academy for Women. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time, and visit loveacademyforwomen.com for information on how to work with me. Bye-bye.